Good morning, traders and market mavens. Thanks for joining us today on Wednesday, the 2nd of March, 2022. This is episode number 2182. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Again, headline risk continues in the markets. We have an overnight session that's been mostly sideways in indices. The DAX is a little bit off. The Euro Stoxx 50 generally in line with the rest of the products, the major index products across the world. The highlight, of course, is crude oil pushing $110 this morning. Was up over 700 basis points. Just a massive move in crude, lifting the energy stocks with them. The pre-market on XOM and others indicates that they're higher by about 1.5% to 2%. Gold sitting sideways, silver coming off a little bit. Copper's relatively strong. This morning, the market posture is really mixed with a slight hint of risk on, but I won't read into that very much. We are really in a balanced market this morning across the S&P. Pre-market and post-market for key earnings, nothing really major. I don't see any tier 4 or 5 important stocks. The headline risk, again, Ukraine-Russia conflict escalates. Reports are, and again, take it with a grain of salt. We don't know. News out of a conflict zone is always conflicted. The Ukrainians are reporting that Russia has been shelling residential areas, so it doesn't seem like a ceasefire is in the cards. Energies are responding to what's going on and are popping higher again. And then this morning we do have event risk relating to the schedule, and that we have Fed's Bullard, who was very outspoken about a 50 basis point hike come March, is speaking at 8:30 Eastern, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central in about a half hour. So pay attention to what's said there. That's why it's bolded. And then at 10 Eastern, we get Fed's Chair Powell's testimony. This is a common pre-scheduled thing. We do get the crude oil stock change at 10:30 and the gasoline changes at 10:30 as well. And then this evening we have a Japan Bank Services number and the Keishin Services PMI at 8:45. This is the Keishin Services is a pretty significant number for China. That's where we stand. The S&P, again, balanced, pretty wide range, but generally balanced. The inventory is 64% long, 348,000 contracts traded, so a little bit less than yesterday. The point of control shifted down from 43.50 to 43.35 this morning. 43.43, the major magnet in this area that I talked about for the last week. Has capped the move higher overnight, and that's where we stand. Cryptos are coming off. Cryptos have, after popping higher, have been mostly sideways. I'm still on the there's a good reason cryptos should be going higher as sanctions force many to dump rubles and get something that is not fiat. But is that the attribution to this move? I'm not really sure, but I still see it in a sideways market up against resistance. I'm still expecting it to rotate down. We'll see what happens. Technical versus macro considerations. In our review segment, looking at yesterday, really we opened right in the range. Yesterday, the expectation was a sideways push, pull back to 43, but I expected following what happened on Monday, I expected 44.02 test, it seemed bullish coming in, and it just was not able. What is going on? It just was not able to get up there. It wasn't able to push through this 43.70 and hold and take out the prior session high. And so what it did is it pushed to 43.70, went to 74.50, giving us our IB high, and then it just started to rotate lower, and it just was weak throughout the session. We extended the IB lower, and then on the close, we extended much lower. This is the full session here. Hang on. We extended much lower, and again, we're respecting the RTH and mid, the RTH VWAP and mid, and the trade is really one directional yesterday. Pretty good rotations on both sides. The dominant rotations were short on what was basically a multi-distribution profile yesterday. Hard to read into what it's doing, but the delta was negative all day long yesterday. The aggressors were on the sell side. This morning, we opened, or last night we opened back up. We moved right up off of the point of control from yesterday, which is right against the settlement and close at 4304. 4303 region against the 4300 century figure, and then we break through to the downside, we push above, and we did a lot of this yesterday right here. We traded yesterday, we traded around the 4300 century figure by about plus 25 minus 20 range. That's basically what we did for the bulk of the session, and that's what happened for the bulk of last night. Basically just carrying over the box from yesterday, and then we finally break to the upside. We break enough to move the point of control to the high end of the range, to the higher end of the range, right against our key high volume node, composite high volume node. And then we came off, and we're holding. Where are we holding? We are holding just above the mid and VWAP, and below the overnight point of control, and below the magnet of 43. Okay, so what we have here again, and you remember I used this term yesterday again, and clear the room of any kids. What we have here again this morning is another, you guessed it, shit sandwich. We're squished between an area of acceptance, which makes for chop, and we are squeezed from below in an area of so above us is an area of composite acceptance, long-term acceptance, high volume at 43. Below us, we have the most recent acceptance at 43.0475. And here we're trading right in the middle of that at 43.20. So yet again, unfortunately, I have to say this, it is likely to be a relatively two-sided, choppy open, and it's anybody's guess what it's going to do. However, one thing that I'm seeing, let me bring it up. One thing that I'm seeing is that yesterday it really had a hard time hanging on to these higher prices. So let's eliminate that. So we're looking at weekly profiles now, and you can see that, you know, this is a very aggressive push higher last Thursday. Then Friday was actually very aggressive on the open. It went right back to the prior close, and it finished very, very bullish on Friday. And then come Monday, we opened somewhere in the middle after some news, and we tagged the prior high at 81.75 and went to 85.50. There's a fair amount of resistance right up here at 85.50. You can see this line kind of sitting here. This line is slanted, unfortunately, because I can't draw very well with the mouse, but something like this. Okay, so we pushed up against this resistance, but yesterday we breached the low, ending the one-time framing up that basically started on Friday, was carried into Monday. We breached it, and we created the situation where we are likely to see resistance against the 43.43, which we did in the overnight session. So to me, this looks like buyers are just having a hard time maintaining the ability to continue to push prices. Remember, yesterday I expected 44.02 up here, and it didn't come close at all. And what we did is we kind of pushed right back into the 4300, which is the MC point of control for the prior session, and we are holding in the area of 43.25, which is a very fat area here. This week here, we did an awful lot of volume. So there's a huge amount of commitment here, and we're trading right up against this 43.25 MC point of control. That's old, and that's where we are. So we are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not Iraq, the country, but a rock, as in a stone, and a hard place. And we are right in here. This is the sweet spot. And you could see that the sweet spot is on top of this, on top of a lot of this, and it's on top of this. This is just saying that the market is really uncertain here. The market is really battling both sides. It could go either way. Be conservative with risk. That's what this is saying. Be picky. This could get really choppy this morning. Okay. Again, we are stuck between yesterday's point of control, volume point of control. We're stuck under the long-term high volume node at 43.43. We have the full session mid and VWAP kind of underneath us. We have the overnight point of control above us. So there's a lot going on here that's going to force traders to position one way or the other. So just be cautious on the open with your commitments. Okay, I'm going to move to the expectation. For some reason, my PC today, which is a relatively powerful PC here at home, I'm having to start at home these days, just super laggy. Need to look into that. All right, so what are we expecting for today? The magnet remained the same for today's session. The resistance level has moved wider, has moved a little bit higher, and the support level has moved. The resistance level has moved a little bit lower, and the support level has moved a little bit lower. The entire range has shifted down slightly as a result of the action from yesterday to today. And so what we have here, let me move this window out of the way. So what we have here, the expectation this morning, I'm sorry, I'm chopped up here because I click on things and they're just not responding as fast as I'm talking, so I'm having to slow down. So this morning, so with the magnets right up here, the over-under is now in the prior week's high zone, which is the prior settlement, 43.80, 43.82. So under this line, there's a skew to the short side, to sellers, and we are likely to get this support level underneath us tagged between 17 and 12. That's the key target. So this morning, I'm looking for this thing to push higher. I'm looking for the overnight point of control to be tested, looking for the overnight stat to be taken out on the upside, but I'm looking for this thing to falter, and then I'm expecting it to actually push yesterday's low down at 42.70 or so. I'm expecting that to be pushed down and to act as resistance as we work ourselves back towards, guys, I can't, my mouse just gets stuck. I don't know what the story is. It's very annoying. I'm expecting this thing to start working itself to the downside. That's my primary scenario. Yeah, my mouse is not behaving properly, so I can't draw very well. That's the primary scenario. The surprise scenario for this morning the expected surprise scenario for this morning would be a rotation up that actually sustains and holds 43 as support. So in that situation, we balance the overnight inventory, which is a slightly positive, come back to get our prior settlement stat, which is at 4303. Poke through the 4300, find ourselves some buyers, and this could even go lower. Find ourselves some buyers, tackle the 43, and then break up and use the 43 as support. Use the 43. If we see that it's not able to get, if it gets above 43 and we see that it's not able to get below, man, you got to aim for this 80. This 80 becomes a huge target up top. There's a lot of damage. There's a lot of damage that can be done above 80. There are a lot of participants that are likely to get squeezed and a big payout. So that's scenario 2, and in that situation, we're likely to fall into this cavity right here at 4402. But you know, from the settlement price of 03 to 80, that's 80 points of range basically, and I'm expecting that to be the limit to the buy side. So those are the two key scenarios. Yes, people are going to criticize, you know, those who've just joined us or are new are going to sit here and go, oh, okay, so for today, you think the market might go up or down. That's not the point. The point is to have a plan for both scenarios. It's in balance right now. It's opening inside of the prior day's range, so I don't need a gap scenario or anything like that. I don't need an aggressive scenario. But the question is, what does it do at 43? What does it do at 43? What does it do at 43.43? What does it do at 4,300? And I think in between, you're scalping. And if you're not a scalper, stay the F out. Do not trade. This is my advice to you. My advice to you has the intention of helping you trade well, and we'll see what happens. So we have Bullard, and we have Jeremy, our buddy Jeremy this morning. They might wiggle things around, but I don't think there's going to be a solid move off of them. So again, people, 4,300, 43.43. That's your sandwich. Everything in the middle is, as I explained earlier, this amazing word that we use to describe a lot of things. That's what's in between, and that's where we are now. Good luck.